Okay, cool. Right. Well, today Ben and I are back doing our series of Silver Shamrock Publishing interviews with some of the authors over there. And I think, Ben, is this number five, number six?
This might be number six.
Number
Yeah.
six. Okay, I kind of lose track, but we thought that we would talk with Tim today because he has his new book coming out imminently. So before we start, I'm Janine Pipe. I'm a writer, a reviewer, an editor, booktuber, a little bit of everything. Just got a new book out myself, and I am joined, as always, with Ben.
Hey, I'm Ben Long, a book reviewer, blogger, writer, writing mostly for Puzzle Box Horror and my own site, readingvicariously.net.
And we are joined by Tim Meyer. Tim, can you
Hi.
give us a very short introduction in case people stupidly don't know who you are?
My name's Tim Meyer. I write horror mostly, some thrillers, science fiction, a little bit of everything. Probably most known for my book, The Switch House, which came out a couple years back. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so today the main thing that we're going to talk to you about is obviously your new book, Malignant Summer. So can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the plot and why you wanted to tell such an epic story?
Sure. So the book or the novel is mainly about a group of kids who are growing up on the Jersey Shore, and there is a chemical plant that's been dumping toxins into the ground, which has gotten into the water supply, which is causing a lot of kids to get sick. And there may or may not be a supernatural force at work. So mainly the reason why I wanted to write this story was because in my hometown, that kind of happened. There was a chemical plant that was, dumping toxins into the ground, and some people got really sick from it. So I thought that would be kind of an interesting just backdrop for like a supernatural horror coming of age story. So that's where it came from. That's where the inspiration came from.
When you first knew that you wanted to write it, did you know it was going to be your magnus opus? It was going to be this whopping great big thing, or did that surprise you?
No, it definitely surprised me. So I had actually pitched the idea to Ken at Silver Shamrock, and he was totally into it. So I started writing it, and originally the idea was it was all supposed to kind of take place on one night during a scavenger hunt that takes place in the beginning of the novel. And then I got like 40,000 words into it, and I was like, this is just the beginning. Like, I have to tell this whole story throughout the entire summer because, the characters were just they were too complex, and there were so many characters, and I couldn't do it in like a typical 80,000, 90,000 word novel. So I think I wrote to him like halfway in, and I was like, "Do you care if this book is ginormously big?" And he's like, "Nah, just write it. Whatever it is, it is." And so, yeah, I just continued to plug away at it until it was finished. So
That's awesome. What is the why set it in the late 90s, that particular time period?
that's just when I grew up. So that was kind of like just something fun to play in. Typically, a lot of my stories take place in modern times. So I haven't had really anything that took place back then. So I just wanted to go back to my childhood and just write something about that. And
Yeah.
it was fitting because it was a coming of age, and all the characters were about the same age I was at that time. So I just thought it would be cool to do.
So since it is set kind of in that time period when you were growing up, and since it is coming of age, is there a lot of you in these characters or friends of yours or
Oh
like
yeah,
expectation?
oh yeah. They're kind of like just a combination of myself and all my friends, just like different aspects, like drawn out. There's the main character is kind of laid back like I am. Kind of just goes with the flow. He's got a friend Jesse who's kind of like the jokester, never takes anything seriously,
My
which
favorite character, yeah.
I also am like that sometimes. But this is just like an exaggerated version of that. So yeah, there's definitely pieces of all the characters. There's another character, Grady. He's kind of like scared of everything, and that's just me growing up as a kid. I was all kind of that kid. I was scared of everything, which is why I think I loved horror movies so much, because I enjoyed being scared, even though I was scared of everything. So there's definitely aspects of me in the three main characters for sure.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
One thing that is which is something that I loved about it, is that it's absolutely littered with pop cultural references. And I remember you joking about that it was like 150,000 words, like were just pop cultural references.
Yeah.
Some people really like that. I do, and then some people hate it. They think like it's just like too much. Did you ever think about getting a balance right with it, or did it just feel right to keep putting those things in?
Yeah, I mean, some of them were kind of just like inside jokes for me, just stuff that like I listened to or grew up on. I definitely cut a lot of them out too, going through the editing process. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a balance that you have to find when you're doing that stuff. But a lot of them were just for me, and just fun things for people who, I feel like people who grew up in that time would appreciate it more than people who didn't grow up in that time.
Yeah.
I could see someone who just didn't grow up in that time just being like, "Oh, this is too many references." But it's like Stranger Things. They kind of have that same thing where they just have so many pop culture references, and I love it too, because I was like 80s 90s, so I also grew up on a lot of stuff that came out in the 80s, so I also appreciate that as well. So for me it works, but like you said, it probably won't work for everyone, and oh well.
Yeah, that's fine. No, it was great. I was literally going, that was me, I watched that, I did that.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Do you make a soundtrack to go with it, like all the cool authors are doing?
I should. I think I started to, because there are a lot of song references in there.
Yeah.
I think Alanis Morissette's mentioned like at least 3 times.
Good, as she should be.
Yeah. There's like some DMX references in there. Just random stuff from the 90s that I used to listen to. So yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll do like a Spotify playlist or something.
Yes, you have to. Yeah, all the cool kids are doing it.
So. Are there, and kind of to that point too, are there any particular albums or films or shows or anything that you kind of were watching to get into the mindset, either for the time period or just the story that you wanted to write, like some of the influences?
Yeah, some of the biggest influences was Stephen King's It is probably my favorite novel. It's definitely top 3. I feel like my favorite novel kind of changes depending on which day it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like that one's consistently number 1, so it's definitely been my favorite novel. So that was a huge influence as well. Robert McCammon's Boy's Life, which is probably also my top 3. That book is phenomenal, and it just, the spirit of that book, it's so good. Definitely drew a lot from that, and that situation that I was talking about in the beginning with the chemical plant. There's actually a nonfiction book that actually won a Pulitzer Prize. It's called Tom's River, and it's a really in-depth look and scientific study on the chemical plant and how they were poisoning the town essentially, and just like the 30-year span that this was happening. So I read that book to kind of get in the mindset, even though I was growing up in that time when that was happening. I was a kid, so I didn't know all the details and stuff that were going into it. So it was really interesting and kind of infuriating too to read about that. But yeah, that was a huge influence. So I read that to kind of get in the mood. And then yeah, like this also has like a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of feel to it, because it does deal with like dreams and what I call like dream horror. And so yeah, that was also kind of a big influence.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I can obviously, having read it, I can see all of those
Yeah.
were major influences in it, but not without being like, oh my god, that is something that King would do. You know, there was like the homages to it kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
no blatant copying and stuff. So yeah, definitely. So did you listen to, I think Ben just said that as well, because I know that you like soundtracks when you write. So did you have any music on in the background to kind of go with that as well?
I can't think of anything specifically. I mean, I did listen to like just some 90s like rock when I was like like Third Eye Blind and stuff like that. Just stuff from like the mid to late 90s. But yeah, generally when I write, I try to listen to like soundtrack or film scores.
Yeah.
Because sometimes catchy music distracts me and I get too into it.
Yeah, I can't
So,
write music at all.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, I love film scores because it's just like it just sets the mood, and I don't really have to, it could just be background noise for me essentially.
Yeah, I can't. I literally have to have silence if there's, and even if it was like a film score or something, and my mind would just be wandering off to the film and stuff. I'm just terrible. It's got nothing.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, but it all depends. I mean, but mostly stuff without lyrics in it works best for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you want to go? Have you got one?
Let's see. I'm kind of moving away from Malignant Summer with some of my questions. Is there anything else you want to ask about that book?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to ask.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, talking kind of about some of your, you've written a lot of different things, a lot of different novels and short stories and everything. Do you have any particular, I know you don't want to pick a favorite of all your babies, your children, but do you have ones other than Malignant Summer that you're like, I really enjoyed writing this one. It was a lot of fun to put together. This is, one that I kind of have a personal, I really like it of the books you've written.
Yeah, I would have to say maybe the Switch House, just because of how that whole thing came about. Like the idea was actually spawned from my wife. She actually kind of gave me the idea. She woke me up in the middle of the night one night and like pitched this idea to me, and it was just basically like the reality TV house swapping idea. And like I was like half paying attention to her because I was like half asleep. And so I went back to sleep, and then I woke up the next morning and like the entire story was just in my head. So like I had to write it, and I think I wrote that one really quick. At least the first draft. I think it took me like a couple weeks to write.
Wow.
Yeah, and then that one kind of became, I guess, one of my most successful stories that's been out there. So yeah, I'd have to say that, but also there's a book I wrote that was published through Grindhouse Press called Limbs, and I do like that one because it's kind of a departure for me from like your traditional horror stuff.
Yeah.
I find it to be more of like a comedy than a horror novel, and yeah, I don't know. There's just something about that book too that I love for some reason, and I wish more people would actually read that one.
Yeah. Are there because also, I mean, you've written in a ton of different, I guess, subgenres of horror and science fiction, thriller, all this kind of stuff. Are there any of those like genres or subgenres that you haven't really gone into yet that you're curious to try, or you've kind of been wanting to? Maybe some other departures from the normal kind of horror stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I love writing across different genres. Even when I do that, though, it all kind of could still be classified as horror,
Sure.
just because that's where my heart is. But yeah, I would love to write like an epic fantasy novel, just like a huge, or maybe like a series, like a giant fantasy series. I actually started to write one earlier in quarantine. It was like one of my quarantine projects, and then I kind of abandoned it after like 30,000 words. So I don't know, maybe one day I'll get back to it, but yeah, that'd be cool to write for sure.
None of the stuff that you've written is in series, right? You haven't written a series. It's all been standalone or kind of loosely
I've written
connected.
the first book I ever wrote was called Enlightenment, and that's part of a
Right.
series.
Yeah,
It's the Demon Blood series, so it's
that's right.
three
Yeah.
books. But yeah, that's not a lot of people even know those exist. So, but yeah, that's some of my earlier stuff. And then I co-write a series with some friends called Sunfall. There's currently 3 books out, and we're working on 4 right now. It's been a little bit of a slow process because of everything that's been going on. But yeah, so it'll be 5 books total. We're almost done with 4, and hopefully they'll both be out within the next couple of years. So yeah, those are the only 2 series that I write. I have like a love-hate relationship with series. At
Yeah.
least writing them. Yeah, like it's exciting to write something big, but it's also like daunting at the
Hmm.
same time. So yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of you are there that do that? The
Sunfall?
yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 of us. It's my friend Chad and my friend Pete, who are both really good writers. They haven't really published anything on their own, just a couple like short stories. But yeah, the 3 of us do that. So it's interesting how we do it. Chad will write like a detailed outline of
Mhm.
it, and then I'll write the first draft, and then Pete will do like the final draft, and then we just
Oh, okay. Yep.
all kind of like revise it and
Right.
play around
Yeah.
with it once it's all written. So it's
That's
So
neat.
rather than one chapter, then another chapter, then another chapter,
yeah,
it's like you all work on the whole thing.
yep, yeah. We talk about the story and like the elements that we want in it, and then Chad will
Mhm.
take those ideas, he'll put it into an outline, give it to me. I'll put it into prose form, and then Pete will come along and finish it up. So
Mhm.
it's worked out. I
I
like
quite
this
like
stuff.
that idea. Yeah, that's quite
Yeah, it's
cool.
cool. It's like, layers of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It probably helps it stay a lot, very cohesive in the style and tone and everything.
yeah. That's one of the reasons why we decided to do that. Because if we all have different writing styles, it's the same way when Chad Lutsky and I did Wormwood.
Yeah.
We did it very similarly, where we just talked about the story. I did the first draft, and he would kind of do the final draft.
Mhm.
Just because the voices are so different, and like you mentioned, like if they were different,
Yeah.
it would be very distracting.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're constantly looking at it going, ooh, who wrote that bit? Who wrote
Yeah,
that bit?
exactly.
It takes you away. Yeah,
Which ones
definitely.
do I like better? Yeah.
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 I only like chapters 3, 6, and 7.
Exactly.
I'm not going to read anything that Maya wrote. I only want Lutsky.
Exactly.
So we talked about your favorite of your longer works. What about short stories? Because you've got obviously you've got, is it 2 of your own short story collections
Yes.
with Teeth and Black Star Constellations? Is that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
and then loads in different anthologies and all that kind of stuff. So have you got a favorite or a couple of favorites of those, something that sticks out?
yeah. The first one that really comes to mind was a story I wrote for Silver Shamrock's Midnight Beyond the Graveyard.
Yes,
My
I love
story,
that story.
yeah, Better's Edge is the name of that story, and takes place in Atlantic City, which is like a half hour from my house. So it was cool to finally write a story about that. But also like that anthology, when Ken invited me to write for it, he wanted like a very Tales from the Crypt kind of story, and I
Yep.
love Tales from the Crypt. I was obsessed with that show growing up, so I like really enjoyed writing that story, and I'm pretty proud of it. So
It is creepy as hell as well. It
oh,
really
thanks.
is. Cool. Are there any others that stand out to you, like in
Uh,
your collections or anything like that?
Probably the title story from Worlds Between My Teeth. It's about a story about these people who find a house that it's not really a house. It's a gigantic mansion that's kind of by itself in a development. And when they go inside, each door is like a portal to another world.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of like a big story that's only 8,000 words long. And I'd always just love that idea of having like a giant mansion that on the, basically wormholes to like alternate dimensions. And I've loved that concept, and it's a concept that I've wanted to return to and maybe do like a short novel or even a novel about that same house. So yeah, I that's a cool story, a favorite of mine. One of my earlier stories too. So
yeah, because all like House of Mirrors and something I've just read of yours as well has almost got that kind of same thing to it with the other dimensions and the stuff. So that's definitely something within your kind of like, not, I don't want to say a pattern, but something that I can see that is something that you enjoy writing as well.
Yeah, I definitely love the whole portals to other worlds aspect, because you're right, it has in a few of my things kind of cropped up. So yeah, it's definitely it's a fun little thing to return to.
Cool.
Do you have any of your because I know sometimes when, especially writing short stories, as you mentioned, there's one you're like, oh, I really enjoyed that world I created. And so oftentimes that'll blossom into a novella or a novel or something like that. Did that happen with any of the books that you've written, or are there other short stories you're like, I really want to return to this?
I don't think anything's ever. Usually when I sit down and write a short, I have it pretty much planned out, and I know like that it can be told within 5,000 or 6,000 words, because most of the short stories that I have written were for something that required you to stay under that limit. So
sure.
So nothing's really like spiraled out of control. I did write something last year for a call, and that I was like, oh, I could totally turn this into a novella if I wanted to. But then I kind of got like I got shortlisted with that story for another anthology, so still waiting on that. So that's kind of like up in the air whether or not I can or I'll be able to do that. So, but yeah, that's kind of the only time that's ever happened, though. There hasn't been another time, and none of my novels have ever come from a short story idea. It's all been envisioned as a novel from the start.
Sure. So when because you've done the collaboration with Lutsky, and you've done the other one that you mentioned with a couple of your buddies, and then you did one with Patrick Lacey a while back, The Lords of the Deep. What was that like, collaborating with Patrick?
It was awesome. Pat's a great writer, and we met actually at Scares That Care. I forget what year, but we just we hit it off, became pretty good friends, and I think I saw him again at another convention up in Massachusetts, and we're just talking, and I had just done a book with Severed Press, and he was mentioning that he would like to do something with them one day. So I was like, we should write something together. That'd be awesome. And so I pitched him like a few ideas, and one of the ideas I think was a joke. I was like, we should write about like pirate ghosts and like haunted treasures and sea serpents. And he's like, I like that idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So
who wouldn't like that idea?
Yeah, I know. But that's funny how stuff like that happens. Like the joke ended up becoming like this 80,000 word supernatural pirate ghost sea serpent adventure. So yeah, we I think I wrote the first chapter and I just sent it to him, and then he sent it back, and we did like the back and forth with that. But that worked because Pat's style and my style are pretty similar. Our voices are very similar, so we were able to make that work without it sounding too different.
Yeah.
Because even if I go back and look at that book now, I can't tell which chapters I wrote, which one. So it definitely worked. Yeah, so it was fun though. It was a great experience. We wrote it pretty quickly too, and Severed Press, they love their sea monster books, so they jumped on it.
Awesome.
On that, is there someone else that you would really love? Let's rule out King and the top people and whatnot. Is there, apart from that, is there someone else that you would absolutely love to, whether it's a book or a screenplay or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I always felt like my buddy Hunter Shea, him and I.
Yes, you and Hunter have to do something.
We would do a pretty cool monster book together, I feel. So that would be cool. Just some of my favorite authors that would be like dream collaborations with, besides like super huge guys, would probably be like Jonathan Jans. Like I love his writing style and his story. I think he's one of the best that we have going in horror today. Ronald Malfi is just an amazing writer. And his prose is so perfect. Like I almost get jealous reading his stuff because it's so good. It's like, oh, I wish I could write like that. And then maybe like Josh Mallerman, because he's got a very unique voice, but his imagination is just wild, and like he's such an exciting guy to read. So I would feel like definitely those would be my picks.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, I would love if you and Hunter write something. That's it. I need that in my life immediately.
Yeah.
But I could really see you and Malaman. I could really see your styles, and it would be absolutely bonkers. Whatever you two would come up with.
That would be cool. Maybe one day.
Maybe, yeah. So if you're listening, get on it. We got anything else, Ben?
Let's see. What okay, well, this is one of your questions actually, Janine. But I'm curious as to what his answer is going to be. She said you've been giving a dream budget, so money's not an option, and told to write a screenplay for a movie. What's it about?
That is a good question. I feel like if I was given a dream budget, I'd have to do something like super epic, like post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I always felt like Robert McCammon stuff like needs adaptations like badly. Like we need some Robert McCammon books adapted for film. And I don't really know why they haven't been yet, but they should be. And I feel like if I were given a dream budget, it would probably be like Swan Song or Wolf's Hour. Like those two books would be perfect movies. Swan Song would probably have to be like 2 movies.
Yeah,
because it's so huge. But like Wolf's Hour would be just an amazing like 2-hour kind of historical like horror movie. It would be amazing if they made that. That was actually one of the first horror books I ever read was The Wolf's Hour, and that was just a mind-blowing experience. So I think it would be cool to do that.
Who's directing it, or who's some of the actors that would be in it?
Ooh,
who are we getting?
Oh man, I mean, since it's a big budget, I mean Michael Bay. Can we get Michael Bay?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be pretty hilarious. As far as the actors, oh man, who would play the wolf, the werewolf? Who would play him? I don't know, maybe like Chris Hemsworth, just because he could do everything. I was actually watching the Avengers last night, the last 2 movies, and like he is hilarious, and like he's just the best. I love him. He's great.
Yeah, we were. You're talking about that's Thor, right?
Yeah.
We're my daughter and we just watched Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah,
she loved that. It's a great movie.
Was it starter young?
Oh yeah. Don't worry about that.
If that's being made, then I need a special invite to set, please.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have a lot of women asking for that. Yeah. Chris Hemsworth is there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what is next for the Meyer machine?
Oh, the Meyer machine. Gosh.
That you can actually tell us about, because we all know that you've got about 1 million things going on.
Yeah. Ooh, echo. What can I talk about? I got a short story. I got a few short stories coming out in a few collections or anthologies coming out at the end of the year. I just signed a contract for another short story collection that's going to come out in 2022. Yeah, 22 next year.
Okay, cool. Who's that with?
They haven't announced it yet, so I can't say.
Oh, okay.
But
So many secrets.
yeah, I know. It's like I can say stuff, but I can't
Just vaguely.
Yeah.
There are things being written.
So I never know what I'm allowed to say or what I can't
Sure.
say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a short story collection. Should be out next year, I think in May.
Awesome.
And then I have like 3 novels that are just near the end. Just, need to do some minor touch-up edits on and then start shopping them. One Janine just actually finished beta reading. And then I have like a dinosaur western that I wrote that I have no idea what I'm going to do with. I don't know if there's a market for dinosaur westerns, but
There has to be.
I don't know, man.
We will
Westerns
find it.
are pretty big right now. They're making a comeback. So
they kind of are. So I might actually be able to find a home for it. But if not, I think I might just put it out myself just to see what happens with it.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, I might. And then that's kind of it. I've got a few screenwriting stuff that I've been working on, which has been fun, which has been a good break from writing, prose.
Yeah.
So, kind of like recharged my batteries a little bit.
Have you done screenwriting before, or is this something newer for you?
So I grew up wanting to be a screenwriter. Almost went to film school in Los Angeles for it, but I couldn't get the money together to go, so I didn't, and I stayed local. But I've taken screenwriting classes, and when I was like 18, 19, I was writing scripts like crazy. And then when I kind of got more into writing short stories and novels, I just kind of stopped writing them.
Mm-hmm.
So last year during the pandemic, one of the first things I wanted to do, because I wasn't working, and I just had all this free time, I was like, I think I want to write a screenplay. And so I took the Switch House and I just adapted that into a screenplay. And I had no idea. It was more of just an exercise for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think anything would happen with it. So but I was proud of it because I thought it came out pretty good. So I entered it in some screenwriting competitions, and it actually won 2 awards, which is really awesome. And so now I'm working with some people on it to see if maybe it could be something. So we'll see what happens with that. And then I'm just I'm working on a few other things that I can't talk about in screenwriting.
That's awesome, though. Congratulations. That would be a really, really fun movie to watch. So
yeah,
hopefully that goes somewhere.
I hope so. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But it is. Movies are so hard to get made. Even now, where it seems like everything is getting made into movies and TVs, because we have all these available streaming services, and there's just like it's like a gold rush almost for content. It's still hard to get stuff made. And the pandemic has obviously made it a little bit harder for stuff to get made. So, but who knows? Who knows what will happen? Just keep my fingers crossed over here.
Yeah. Cool.
So, to a lay person like myself, what is the difference between a screenplay and like a play?
That's a good question. I've never written a play, although I took some acting classes in college for stage, and I got to see some, but it's not that different because you're writing for the same audience, right? So like in a movie, in a book, your POV is usually to the character, and you get to experience what they see, what they hear, what they smell, what they can feel, their emotions, like all these different aspects. For a movie, you only see things and occasionally hear things, and that's how you tell the story. So, so when you're writing a screenplay, it's specifically for visuals.
Yeah.
And I imagine the same with stage, because you just have the stage and you have the actors, so you're mostly just writing dialogue and what they do, and everything else is up to like the set designers of how they want like the look and everything. So you don't really have to include too much detail. Same thing with a screenplay. Screenplays are really weird to read because there's like it's almost better to have less detail in them. You're mainly just writing like what happens and then dialogue. So
okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So
yeah.
do you have like the directions, like sort of character walks in from here and whatnot? Do you do that, or does that go on to someone else?
Yeah, so screenplay, yeah, you would basically just write what you would see on the screen, like what the characters are doing, again, without getting into too much detail, because a lot of like that stuff would be up to the director and the actors, how they want to, like, you wouldn't do like every single thing a character does, like pick up a glass of water and drinks it. Like that stuff you don't really need to put in. But stuff like visuals, like a specific painting on the wall or something that clues the audience in or has some sort of significant meaning to the story. You want that stuff in there. Just all visual stuff. You would want to just describe things in very minimal details.
So the dialogue is what guides.
Dialogue is like but again, like you want to use that sparingly too, because you don't want 90 pages of all dialogue.
Just long speeches and
Okay, that's really interesting, because it's something that I have literally no experience. I mean, I love films and watching them, but I would have no idea how it goes from this to this. So that's actually really interesting.
It's really fun to watch. If you're a fan of film, I totally recommend going on this website, or actually they have a Facebook page too. It's called Screenplayed. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
It's basically, it'll take like a scene from like a famous movie, and then underneath it it'll have the screenplay, and it'll like scroll through the screenplay, so you can read the screenplay and see what's going on in the screen, so you can see like the actors changed words around and like how it's just
script it went.
Yeah, exactly. And like sometimes you'll see like the screenplay just go all the way down and cut through like stuff that was just cut out of the screenplay, and then it's kind of interesting to watch. And it's good if you wanted to kind of get a visual on screenplays, and just like reading screenplays is probably the best way if you wanted to like learn how to at least format everything. And there's specific programs for writing screenplays, because the format is so much different than writing software.
Final
really
Draft.
Final Draft is what we use.
Cool. Are there any other mediums that you would be interested in broaching, like poetry or comics or something like that?
Poetry, I don't think I'm intelligent enough to write poetry. I have a huge respect for people who write poetry, because I find it like super difficult. I could write some haikus once in a while.
There you go.
But that would be cool to experiment with. But like I said, I don't think I have the brain power for it. But yeah, comics. I was big into comics growing up too, and that was another medium that I'd always wanted to crack into. I would always, try to draw my own comics, but I'm a terrible artist, so it was basically just like stick figures in boxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that would be another medium that I would love to get into for sure. And that's kind of that's similar to writing screenplays as
Yeah.
well because it's
Yeah.
all visual. So
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking when you were talking about the writing the screenplays. That's kind of how you go about writing the writing comics as well. So, and
Yep.
it's a very visual medium. So
absolutely, yep.
cool. And then you also kind of moving away from this real quick too. You're doing some podcasts. Is it The Final Guys?
Yep.
One of
Yep.
those. Do you have any other ones, or is that kind of the main one?
That's the only one.
Yeah.
I had one that I did with my other friend Chad, who I did the Sunfall series with, and my wife. We had a movie podcast, but we stopped doing it, I think, last year, right before the pandemic hit, just because we had so much other stuff going on, and it was just couldn't do it anymore. I had to like cut some things down.
Yeah.
Taking on too much stuff, so we had to abandon that.
With The Final Guys, how's that going?
It's going well. Those guys are idiots. And,
Yeah.
Seems like a good time though.
Yeah. No, I love hanging out with them every week. It's a great break and just, talking about what we love, horror movies. So it's amazing. I love it.
And this is going to sound ridiculous, but it is one of my favorite things of the whole week that I look forward to is watching. And all four of you are like, the dynamics just work so well. And Hunter is he's one of my favorite people in the whole world anyway. He's just so funny.
Yeah.
But sometimes Jack just literally has me wetting myself. Some of the things because he's like so deadpan sometimes. And then he comes out with things.
He's
just absolutely. I love Jack.
Yeah, he's kind of like me. We're like the laid back ones, I feel.
Yeah.
Actually, we're all kind of laid back except for Hunter. He's the only one who gets like crazy. But yeah, Jack is. There's been episodes where like he'll just be on fire, and like he just has like these one-liners that have me like cracking up the entire episode.
Definitely, considering he's the non-writer out of the three of you, some of the stuff he comes out with is just gold
quick.
dust.
He's quick, yeah. It
is quick, yeah.
Sharp.
And Jason's just the king of snark anyway. So
yeah. I feel like we have like a good. We all balance each other out quite well. Yeah. I feel like they all have their things, and like once I got there, it was like I'm a little bit of all of those. Yeah. So like a good we play off each other pretty well.
Yeah. Definitely. And they do give you some stick as well, which is quite good.
Oh yeah. Constantly making fun of me. But that's okay, I deserve it.
Yeah.
I like bad movies. I can't help it.
Yeah.
You like what you like,
Yeah. It's so funny. Sometimes like when a movie like comes up, I'm like, oh god, Tim's gonna like this, isn't he? Yep, I knew it.
Yeah. It's a curse.
It makes it more interesting though.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, if we all liked the same thing every week, then it would be the most boring podcast in the world. That's some of the best episodes are when we fight about stuff. So
yeah.
Lately we've been getting along pretty well, which is why we had to do the 200th episode where we talked about the Shining remake, and I made them all watch it again because I love that adaptation, and I love it more than the Kubrick version. And like it was just 2 hours of just yelling at each other. It was hilarious.
It was.
Like literally yelling at each other. So.
It was brilliant. Oh dear. Yeah. It is just a good time. It really is. And I wish that the times, aligned so that I could, because I've only ever managed one where I stayed up, and it was the Halloween one. And it was your longest episode to date at that time as well. And it was like, for fuck's sake, it's like 2 a.m, please. Shut up so I go to bed.
Yeah, that's brutal, especially on a weekday,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's tough. But you just got to move to America then.
I know. I keep telling my husband, come on, there are reasons why we need to go to America. And reason number one is so that I can watch The Final Guys live. I mean,
of course, priorities.
And then
definitely.
Disney World next, right?
Yeah.
That's it. I'll be able to watch it live when we're in Boston and Florida. So
There you
Yeah.
go.
there we go. Be like, but it's time for the fireworks. No, shut up. I'm watching the final, guys. I know you wanted to ask Tim something about the beer, Ben, didn't
Oh, I
you?
was just wanting to ask you what your favorite IPA is, because
That
I
is-
see you posting about beer all the time. So
That is a tough question, sir.
yeah, I knew it would be a hard one.
Oh man, what do I
Or just one
like
you had recently you really enjoyed.
I like the New England IPAs, like the hazy ones that are juicy. So like any of those. I've been getting in like double IPAs lately.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because I don't know, they're kind of a little bit more bitter than
Mm-hmm.
regular juicy ones. I wish I could throw out some specific ones. I could throw out some like local ones by me.
Yeah.
Icarus Brewing, they're in Lakewood, New Jersey. They make the best IPAs. Whatever they throw in there, like the Mosaic hops or whatever they are, like, or Galaxy hops, just insane. Just tastes so good. So yeah, any type of beer like that.
Okay. I'll have to see if I can find them. I don't know if they distribute outside of New Jersey or not.
They might. 'Cause they're pretty much in every like spirits or beer
Mhm.
craft beer place in my area. I'm only like a half hour from them though, so
Nice.
but yeah, I'm not sure where you are, but it might distribute out of state. I
Over
don't
in
know.
Georgia, so
Oh,
if I get that far or not.
probably not.
Yeah. Just have to come visit.
Yeah, you totally can. I'm trying to think of like just some bigger beers that I enjoy. Stone, you know Stone, right?
Oh yeah. Stone Brewing.
They have a delicious IPA. It's called.
Yeah.
That one's really good too. I like that. Super bitter.
Cool, man. I just had to ask because I know if you haven't seen, people that are watching this haven't seen Tim's, Twitter feed and stuff. There's usually a beer every other post, maybe.
It's like 90% beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm on a beer diet now, so I haven't had any in like almost 2 weeks. So
Oh
Oh
wow.
my goodness.
yeah, yeah. I have to stop and like recharge the batteries.
Sure.
It's just too much, and it's expensive. Like craft beer is expensive, so
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, we don't drink. Neither my husband or myself drink at all.
you're
But
better off
I'm
that way.
always insanely jealous of the beer cans. I swear that, British lager hasn't got those really cool
Yeah.
pictures on, because I'd almost buy the beer and, tip the beer away and keep the cool
Keep the
cans.
I might have a small collection of cans I've kept just for
Yeah.
the art.
They are awesome. Yeah, especially like the themed ones around like Christmas time and Halloween time and whatnot. And we have nothing like that here.
Really, you guys don't have like any craft beer over there or anything?
Yeah, it tends to come in bottles, and they
okay.
don't really have the cool unless I'm just missing, because I haven't been to a local brewery,
Yeah.
I think, for
Maybe
years.
that-
But in
maybe
like
that-
the regular supermarkets and stuff, you don't have anything like that. So we're obviously missing a treat over here.
Yeah.
Because if a non-drinker would buy it just for the can, then
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a market there then.
yeah, there must be. Maybe I need to get onto it.
Yeah. Get started.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, I think, are we done with the questions, Ben? Have you asked
Oh, yeah.
everything that you wanted to? Yep.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So much.
Is there anything that we missed out that you wanted to make sure that you pimp so that everybody knows, or did we cover everything? I think we probably did.
I think we covered a lot of stuff. No, I think that's it. I mean, thanks so much for having me, and I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Just before we go, where can people find you? Where's the best place to interact with Mr.
I'm probably most present on Twitter or Instagram, either one. And then my website, timmeyerwrites.com. I don't really post there too often, but if you wanted to check out my books, I have a store set up there so you can buy signed books directly through the website. So.
Okay, cool. And it's June the 1st, Malignant Summer's out.
June 1st. Yep. It's coming quick. I don't know when this is going to air, but it's like 2 weeks away.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll get this out ASAP so that people can get their pre-orders in and things. That was kind of why I wanted to do it as well, to get the excitement building for it. I'm
excited.
Yeah, it's not as though I haven't told every single person in the world how amazing it is. Anyway. Okay, well, thank you ever so much, Tim, for spending some time with us. Thank you, Ben, for joining me when I know it's nice and early for you guys. And speak to you both very soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.